home to our appreciated guests and visitors. My name is Don. I'm the assistant governor, and I want you all to know there's some things you can do besides see the duck mark. Number one, you can visit the Peabody Skyway. If you push X on the elevator, it will take you to the Skyway Road. If you exit to the right, you'll have an excellent view of the city of Memphis. And if you look to the left, you will see a large mansion facade. If you go around it, you will see the newly renovated Peabody Ducks house. As many have called it, Duckingham's house. If you take a left off the Skyway route, you will see the famous Skyway Ballroom that has been host to many of the greatest big bands over the years. The Peabody Hotel began its long history in 1869. A few blocks from here are Main and Monroe. It was built by Robert C. Brinkley. It's called Peabody. Leave her alone, Rick. Leave her alone. Right, stop. Always being upstate. The Peabody Hotel began its long history in 1869. A few blocks from here on Main and Monroe. It was built by Robert C. Brinkley. It's called Peabody because George Peabody, a generous humanitarian, often called the father of modern philanthropy, was his best friend. And he died shortly after the grand opening, so it was unselfishly named after him. It stayed there for 54 years, but closed its doors in 1923. And the Peabody Hotel was rebuilt here by September the 1st, 1925, just under a $5 million budget. Now, what about the ducks? First of all, folks, I must tell you that these ducks are tenured. They get no vacation days. However, they do go into mandatory duck retirement after 3 short months. After that time, they retreat to a little preserve close to where they were raised to live out their little duck lives in peace and harmony. Folks, these ducks you see here, they're graduating Tuesday. And folks, I gotta say though, I'm not as sad as I've been in the past because I have 2 ducks in there with some very foul attitudes. But it's no joy of training, but I'm looking forward to it. This tradition started in 1932 when the general manager Frank Shutt and his best friend Tibbart were returning from a duck hunting trip in Arkansas. They had been drinking some Tennessee sipping whiskey. Today we call it Jack Daniels. Needless to say, they got a little tipsy and decided to play a little joke on the guests. They took some of their live English decoy calls up, put them in the lobby fountain, and left to sleep it off. Returning some hours later, to their surprise and to the amusement of the guests, the ducks were still there. Thus began a tradition that has continued to this very day. But I must add, the road was not always so smooth because in 1939, the use of live decoy call ducks was outlawed, and the Peabody Hotel was left facing a dilemma: how to continue the tradition. Eventually, they met Mr. Edward Pembroke, who had retired from Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. They challenged him to take 5 Northern Mountains, 1 male we call him Drink, 4 females we call hens, train them to come from the Royal Duck Mansion across the Skyway route, into the elevator, across the red carpet, into the lobby fountain, and to remain there until 5 p.m. Well, I can assure you folks, therein lies the challenge. But Mr. Pembroke took up that challenge, and not only that, became duck master for more than 50 years, even appearing on the Johnny Carson show. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but we definitely owe him many thanks. Folks, before I present my little ducky duck, I have the rare pleasure of introducing my honoraries for today. I'd like to call up Elizabeth and Rick Beecher. Elizabeth and Rick, my honoraries for today. Folks, I don't have to tell you that this is indeed a very solemn ceremony. Look solemn, Rick. Whereas the daily march of the world-famous Peabody Ducks is a time-honored tradition begun in the 1930s and witnessed by countless individuals. And whereas the care and protection of the Peabody Ducks only falls on the shoulders of those of high moral character and integrity, and because Rick and Elizabeth are young people of high moral character and integrity, by the power invested in me by the Peabody Hotel, I now pronounce them honorary keepers of the Ducks on this day, August the 1st, 2010. Let's hear it for them, folks. And in their honor, they both will receive the Peabody Ducky Proclamation. And last but not least, they both will receive Peabody Duckmaster Ducky! There you go. See that small? It's just about that time. So you will these are killer ducks. Okay, Steve. Let's get ready, guys. Get ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and your attention, please. Welcome to the historic Peabody Hotel. At the center of the grand lobby, the point where the Mississippi Delta has been said to begin, stands the classic Peabody fountain, carved from one piece of the Titan travertine marble. Although famous in its own right, the fountain is better known the world over because of its residents. If I may direct your attention to the fountain now, you will witness a tradition begun in the 1930s at the South Grand Hotel, an experience uniquely yours as a guest of the Peabody. Preparing to return to their penthouse on the plantation roof for the night.
Let's go, guys. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, the march of the world-famous Peabody Ducks.